Muhammad Khan, this architect, this is before he has entered the competition, actually, even though it comes late in the novel. And he has been, his architecture firm had sent him to Kabul in Afghanistan to compete for a commission to build a new American embassy there. And he quickly concludes that they're not going to win, and so he decides to go see the city by himself. So that's what this section is. He began to walk, the sun drilling into his head. After about 10 minutes, he emerged from the slum onto a paved road that sloped downward. Soon a smooth mud wall, inscribed with pointed arches, too high for him to see over, loomed up on his right. He continued downward, shoulder to the wall, until he found an enormous wooden gate. He walked through the gap and left the city behind. Before him, a vast garden rose up to meet the slope of the mountain he had just descended. From his new vantage, the hillside slums' cantilevered houses looked like an Escher drawing, one that could be smeared by an earthquake, a mudslide, as easily as wet ink on paper. The jumble on the hill broke abruptly at the garden's rear wall, which demarcated an entirely different landscape, one marked by symmetry, order, geometry. A Ministry of Tourism signboard told him where he was, Boggy Babur's Garden, designed around 1526 by the first Mughal emperor, who was now buried in it. After serving as a front line in Afghanistan's civil war, the garden was being restored. It came closer than almost anything he had seen in Kabul to matching the description he now found in his book. Mo began scaling the terraces, then wandered off to the side into the intimate shade of the tree canopies, the grassy turf sinking slightly beneath his feet. Pink blossoms frothed against the green foliage. Tulips, tiny cups of color, were scattered offhandedly around the bases of the trunks. Near the garden's perimeter wall, densely planted mulberry, almond, and fig trees created a deeper shade. He smelled damp earth, spring air, trodden grass, and a faint floral sweetness. Descending to another terrace, he found his way to the veranda of a small, elegant pavilion and sat. Before him, the canal stretched like a long runner reflecting the sky. From under the almond trees sprang a joyous cry. The boys who guided him to the garden had rematerialized to play a hybrid of croquet and cricket and horseshoes, each aiming at the other's tossed rock. The faint thwack of a hit called forth a whoop, a soft thud in the grass. At a water tap, a young man groomed himself in a small handheld mirror, twisting his face this way and that as if searching for flaws. A group of women raised their burqas atop their head like nuns' wimples and turned toward the sun. The walls muffled but didn't erase the city's sound. Mo dawdled in the garden until dusk, when the light turned murky, soft, and the call to prayer poured over him. From all corners, men moved toward the exit in the city beyond as inexorably as the canal flowing down the terraces. Mo felt a pull, more passive than volition, to follow them to prayer. And yet he held back, until he saw one man kneel to pray, alone, on a stone border at a terrace's edge. He went to join him, pausing first at a tap to splash water on his face and hands in a gesture toward ablution. Mo had last prayed maybe a year ago, visiting a mosque with his father. And it was perhaps the first time he had prayed as an adult. With the steps of the prayer foreign to him, he had watched his father. It was a lesson of odd intimacy. Salman was past 60, and his age told in the creak of his knees, the pause of his body in a question mark on the way to the floor, the gathering of breath before he bent to his forehead, the slight stiffness of the rise. Mo, even as he moved himself, had been nearly paralyzed by self-consciousness. To see young professionals like him, blackberries blinking from their belts, with their rears hoisted in the air and their socked soles exposed, had made him wince for their dignity and for his own, had made him think that men weren't meant to be spectators of the prayers of others. But today, the Afghan, deep in his prostrations, did not acknowledge Mo, even as together they formed a line, a wall, a mosque. He cared not at all for Mo's judgment. He had forgotten himself. And this was the truest submission. Thank you.